What's up, guys? Welcome back to Esk8, the show where we talk about MBoards, electric skateboards, Esk8Con, really just the industry in general. And we are officially back after a 6-month hiatus, burnout.
Vacation?
Yeah, sure.
It was anything but a vacation,
right? Yeah. So it's been a minute. This is episode 84. 84, I believe. So it's a lot's happened. Our last episode was our Esk8Con recap,
right?
Of last year, or I guess
I had to go back and rewatch it just to remember kind of how.
Did you watch it?
Well,
okay.
I had to remember just how to do this. Like I'm nervous today.
Yeah,
again,
it's been a minute.
I got the butterflies.
It's been a minute. Yeah. So we're gonna run through like kind of just general updates for MBoards. We've got a handful of other topics as far as new batteries go. MBoards releases, a couple companies that have gone out of business. Like we've got a show today.
Right.
We've written it. We're doing our best to actually write shows. We don't want to just sit down and wing it. We've done that in the past, and we want to actually have a pretty structured show.
So things like segments, right? Well, we'll cover maybe 2 or 3 different things every week, but we kind of will rotate through, so we keep some consistency, whether that's doing some technical kind of application talks, whether it's, some new brands or new products, just things like that. We want to make sure we kind of touch on everything. So if you guys have suggestions, if you have segments, if they're fun, if they're not fun, I don't know what would be like. Crashes seem not fun, but they're also fun at the same time.
Yeah.
So.
They're fun to watch. Just because we learn a little something about what happened.
Especially if there's a story. There's usually a backstory,
Yeah,
and those are cool.
We posted like a 6-minute like little teaser video or so like a couple days ago. Just kind of giving you guys a good idea of what the show looks like moving forward. And in that video, we were asking for a lot of feedback. So this is also a video where your feedback will absolutely be read and considered. So please leave a comment down below on like what you want to see in the show, what kind of segments you want to see. Again, we're trying to make it structured. Moving forward, the show will just be me and Jacob.
It will be.
It will just me and Jacob. James has moved on to other things. And just me and you.
Yep.
So we got this.
We'll
figure it out.
We'll do it.
All right. So moving into MBoards updates. Let's just run through these as quick as we can. A lot has happened in the last
6, 7, 8
months or so. Yeah, it's like 6 months. It's been a long thing. But okay, so the big one is the fact that we released the MBoards Endurance 2.0 and 2.0 Plus, which is just an absolutely beautiful board. It's got this glossy or matte like camo finish, which is no one's ever done before. It looks absolutely phenomenal. The specs are honestly also very good. Let's see here. We've got we claim a 55 plus and 90 plus mile range on ATs and street wheels, which we can get. I can get it. Let's put it that way. Like what I can get doesn't mean someone who's a little heavier than me riding at full speed the entire way can get that, but I can get that. So that is a possible range you can absolutely get. Again, it's a 14S 8P P42 8-pack, so it's a big,
but it doesn't ride
pack.
Like it,
No, not too bad.
When you think of a 14.8, you usually think of like these huge frame boards, the big wide decks, the big wide trucks. I mean, our trucks are a little wider, but they're not, obnoxious 20-inch, LaCroix hyper truck style. So even though it is a big battery, it doesn't ride like a big board, which is cool.
Right. Yeah. So our weight it's 27 pounds. So it's a little bit. So sorry, the board weight is 39 pounds.
I was gonna say 27 pounds. My ass.
Sorry,
That's what
my
the
bad.
Battery weighs.
Yeah, 39 pounds. So it's not a light board, but.
So we introduced this at Esk8Con. So a lot of you guys did get to ride it at Esk8Con. You got to check it out. You got to see the different finishes. Of course, we kind of talked about some of the things we were going to do. And then we had the finished product, which ultimately we came out with a few new things on that board.
Yeah.
So,
So we'll actually get there.
You got that coming up. But yeah, so.
Actually, I can skip ahead. Let's see.
Got the actual launch. We started taking orders July. And the intent was drop it on the 4th of July because why not? We're an American company. Let's drop some American parts on America's Day. So we did it. Why not? We sold that first batch in, I don't know.
I think it was 3 days.
Yeah, a couple days.
Less than 3 days.
And there was, some time in between there to just finalize everything. So those boards have shipped.
Yep.
First batch is shipped. We're into the second batch already.
We did, and we updated the trucks.
We did.
We didn't tell anybody.
Got those ready?
I do, yeah. So we changed the way that they look. So we've got this beautiful like epoxy sticker inside of it, which is just
a gel dome.
It's like a gel dome like decal, which is
cool,
really
man.
cool.
They're super cool.
It's maybe hard to see in this picture, but it's got a really heavy chamfer on it now.
Right.
They look really clean, and it's just like a nice, clean, nice face mill.
Yeah, we took out sort of the cross box.
Yeah.
We noticed those were like dirt traps.
Oh, dude,
they would
so
just
bad.
catch everything,
and it's so hard to clean.
Yeah, and so it was a lot of extra machine work that was really just aesthetic. So I think making that adjustment was cool. And then we did the top plates, which I don't know if you had the top plates.
I don't have the top plates,
yeah,
actually.
Mike surprised me with a pretty cool like New York Yankees pinstriping.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'll
have to post it.
Yeah, it looked wicked.
Those new plates will get posted on our website shortly for anybody who wants one. So
part of our deal, right? We update parts when we want to. We change the look of it because we can. Why not? So if you guys have an idea, you want something custom, let us know. We can do it.
Yep.
You know, it's not that hard.
It's not too bad.
Just shitting for
a couple new things that we're working on right now too is we're working on a 800 plus watt hour like aux pack, like a universal aux pack. So here's a good shot of it here. So it's a Pelican 1150. We'll see if it stays in this size case. We have a couple other thermal testing to do.
Got some feet,
but it's got these nice rubber feet. So when you put it on your board, it like raises above any concave you might have, and also just adds some vibration dampening. But it's a very compact case. It's quite small. It's got our cool MBoards. Like again, it's like an epoxy decal. It's got a screen on there to show you like how much power you have left, and it's got an on and off switch, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
So we'll see how that one goes. And also at the exact same time, we made a 12S4P version of this. This is just straight 12S4P top mount battery.
We got a lot of questions about these from folks. They, have a board, they want to go farther, but they don't necessarily want to buy a new one.
Right.
And our response typically has been, yes, it's doable. However, we just really hadn't, the aux pack. We just really never went down that route of, how does this really all work? And so it's not the same as just build a battery, put a cable on it, and throw it on another battery.
No,
it doesn't work.
You can't just run two random batteries in parallel together, because one will start charging the other one in not so good fashion.
And that was kind of, what, our biggest hurdle was. And then we saw some other companies start to release these, and we thought, all right, maybe there is actually a market. So let's figure this out. So we took our approach to it. This is our there was no reverse engineering. There was nothing. Mike just said, you know what, this is my idea. So this is what I want to do.
The route we're going is it's actually a 6S8P is what it technically starts out as. Here's what it looks like. It's actually a three part PCB
which
build.
You designed, which is wicked cool.
We designed all of this. And what it does is pretty much it outputs to a boost converter pretty much. And what it does is we can tune that converter to be any output voltage we need it to be. And then it consistently will charge your battery through the charge port of your board while you ride at a certain amperage, certain voltage.
Right.
And that way you're not just putting two battery packs together in parallel. You're actually charging your board as you ride. So we're still trying to figure out when do you turn this thing on? I think some people will turn it on towards the end of the ride. Some people will turn it on right at the beginning. Just depends on how you ride. So we're just trying to finalize all those pieces of data before we actually release that battery.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's
some tests.
Still a handful of testing on that one. But now the sister pack of that, it's like almost the exact same footprint, except it doesn't have that internal charger in it. That's just a 12S4P. That thing's ready to go.
Right.
We're ready to release that. We need to just get pictures of it and get it put on the website. But that thing's ready. And that's a great little jumper pack.
Yeah, so that one, we've had the 12.6, but the 12.6 has always been just very hand-built. Right?
Oh, it's so hands-on. It's so labor-intensive. It's expensive. It's pretty bad.
So we needed to kind of take that next step, make it more production-friendly for Chris so he can make more of these, make it easier, and ultimately we can offer it at a better price. Right. So that's where that 12.4 comes in. So, you want a simple, quick mountain board build, something you can play around on. That's kind of the pack for that.
And then the 12.4 was really more or less, yes, we needed to get a more production-friendly Pelican case, but we also were tackling at the same time an all MBS electric mountain board build, which is our next thing we're talking about. So great segue into it.
Yeah. Look at us. So that's making a show.
So that's That's the 12S 4P 1150. This is before we put our fancy decal on it, unfortunately, but it is what it is. But we needed a pack for this thing, so we were doing an all MBS build. So that means MBS hubs, MBS Matrix 3 trucks, MBS deck, MBS tires, That should be everything. Oh, MBS bindings.
Yep.
So that's everything we possibly could do that's MBS because
Correct.
Pulleys even, yeah.
The only thing we don't have that's MBS that they offer were the motor mounts.
Yes, we did our own motor mounts because I feel like our motor mounts are better.
I love that design. It's so much better.
It's so our mounts are a little bit better, so we went with ours.
So the goal of this board was one, there's sort of a little gap in the industry as far as mountain boards go. We'll actually get to touch on that a little bit more about the mountain board industry. But in the U.S., MBS sort of rules the roost. And we really had this idea that we could put out a budget-friendly, beginner sort of entry-level mountain board, and that's where this one comes in. So we kind of knew the components we wanted to do. You fit it into a little box, and for $2,000,
I think that's what we're doing. $2,000.
You get this out-of-the-box mountain board that will fucking shred, dude.
Here's a great shot. We also developed and released separately a top mount ESC case, which is I think came out really cool. So that's part of that's a component we've added. Obviously, MBS didn't make that, but that top mount ESC case that's also available on our website now. So that's pretty cool. So all in all, like you've got a very well-rounded board.
It's a cool we're not going to call this a collaboration because albeit we've contacted MBS about this board probably 3 times, they haven't really taken the big bite. So you know what? Screw it. We'll just build it. We're just going to do it anyway.
So this build would actually be out already had MBS had stock. So we're waiting on them. They're having some logistic issues over there.
Dude, I swear I put it in order in it was before June. Maybe right in June, and that was supposed to show up in August, and then it was supposed to show up in October. Still waiting.
Oh gosh, and we have a lot
waiting. It's crazy. We got a lot coming. So
so that's cool. So as soon as we get that stuff in, we'll be able to release that board.
We've been able to do more testing though. So if you guys know one of our locals, JJ, he took this thing out for 2 weeks and then actually gave it to another local, which was fine.
So they beat the hell out of it.
Yeah, dude, they beat the shit out of it.
So this beautiful board, the beautiful board that we've got sitting here, does not look like that anymore.
No,
I mean it looks great. It's actually
it's right.
It's actually in the background.
We I mean, it's not that bad.
No, it's just dirty.
It was funny because he just went straight to the desert. I said, go ride it, man. Go ride it, rip it up, find all the trails, because that's where people should be riding this board.
Yeah.
Does it work on the street? Of course it works on the street.
Yeah.
They all work on the street.
Throw some Novas on there.
Yeah, man, they all work on the street, but the idea is probably not going to be a street board. So
no, I think people will go. Though. Yeah.
It's a cool build.
Speaking of tires and on street, our Nova 8s. Our Nova 8s have finally come out. So of course we've had our 6s and 7s came out simultaneously, which was awesome. I think that was a cool thing that we dropped both sizes at once. But then everyone was like, "What about the 8s? What about so here we go. We have got the 8s now, so that's pretty cool."
Crazy how small they look on camera. But
the 6s look
big,
so dinky,
right?
And then the 8s look.
That is wild.
Isn't that crazy?
They're big. It's a lot of rubber, man. It's a lot of rubber.
Yeah.
So when if you've ordered these, definitely keep a close eye on getting them balanced. There is a process. Part of our
the bigger the tire, sometimes the more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, all right, we can get into physics and we can get crazy, but it's like centrifugal force, the way that the rotation of the tire. If there's even a gram or 2 more of rubber in one area than another, you're going to get a little bit of that wobble. So keep an eye out. You can balance these. MBS makes balance weights. Yeah. There's a process that Joe does for every tire where you line up the valve stem with the heavy side of the tire. We're going to do a whole video on some of these, small tutorials. Again, that's part of kind of our refresh with, getting back on the channel. But just, if you have any questions, if you've ordered these, you have questions, you want some assistance getting them balanced, or if it's just so out of whack, man, just let us know. But
what's great though, what's awesome is our 6s have been really rock solid as far as balance goes, because the 6s are the hardest to balance.
Tire. Yeah,
and then the 8s have been pretty good, and it's just so big. But they're easily balanced.
I've had the 200 by 75s, right? Yeah. These big those things are terrible.
They're bad.
They're absolutely terrible.
Really bad.
But you know what? It was the only option. So what do? You suck it up. We're gonna make this tire the best tire available. Yep. So,
all right, moving on to Esk8 Con updates. So we don't have a ton of updates here for you, but we know that the Esk8 Con will be either the last week of March, or one of the first 2 weekends of April.
Right.
We're just finalizing with several different venues. So we're just trying to figure out which avenue we want to go down. The Llama Lot, we love the Llama Lot. It's too, I believe it's at this point too small for us.
Right.
We really have aspirations to add a secondary track, increase racing to more people.
Full time, you could call it.
Yeah.
You know, the track will be busy the whole time.
Yeah. So like last year we had like 51% of the time we were obligated to, so track time, 51%, we have an obligation to give that to the vendors for demos. So that way the vendors who show up, they bring their boards. People want to test ride their boards. They have to have the time to do that. Now, in 2025, Esk8 Con in March or April, we'll have 2 tracks, one that's dedicated to racing, one that's dedicated to demos. So that means there will be no track closures ever.
Right.
Now, the racers understand, like, of course, like you can't be on the track mid-races and stuff, but the demo track, that'll be open literally the entire time. Will not close at all.
For non-racing.
For
So that's not go warm up on your race board. That's
for non-racing, for demo purposes, not to practice racing. It'll be 2 different tracks, 2 different layouts, so there really won't be a huge benefit to taking your race board out on there. But yeah, so that we're just finalizing that, and as soon as we can finalize which venue we go for, that will kind of tell us which date it's going to be, and then we'll be able to release the date.
A lot of things start happening after that. Then we start developing the daily schedule. We start looking at, vendors. We start looking at all of the things we have to rent for the weekend, all of the services we need to bring in, blah, 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 blah. But the location and the date is what the people really want.
Yeah, the location and date. Well, people really right now, I know you guys need the dates.
You guys don't care about all our rental crap.
A lot of it, the location you guys don't necessarily care about. You know it's going to be in Las Vegas. You just need the dates so you can book your flights and hotels. And I get that. We're trying our best to get it out as soon as we can. We're still 6 months out, though. So
we're ahead of schedule though.
So we're okay.
The last 2 years, the Llama Lot, they will not confirm anything until after the first of the year.
Yep.
They simply won't do it. So I mean,
so we've been kind of just saying this is the weekend and going
Correct.
Hope so.
I do. I think we'll stick with our schedule too of releasing tickets.
Black Friday
on Black Friday.
We'll
so keep an eye out for that.
It's gonna be discounted early bird tickets.
We're gonna have some new ticket options too. So there'll be, just keep an eye out for what you're looking for. We're working with some partnerships and just some different packages we want to be able to offer you guys to make your initial purchase the easy one, and just you can show up and all the goodies are there. Right.
Yep.
Shirts, hoodies, anything. There's going to be some other new offerings, but we're going to get that out ahead of time. So that way, you don't necessarily have to buy it when you get here. It's already ready for you.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, that's all the updates we have. I know the date is the biggest one, and we will, as soon as we know that, we will release the save the date, because we're not holding that out. We're not holding out on you. As soon as we have the date, it'll be out, because I know a lot of our international guys really need that.
Keeps my inbox clear too.
Yeah, really.
You guys are hawks.
When is Esk8 Con?
I know.
When is Esk8 Con?
It's coming. I promise.
I got families.
Here, how about this? Just book to be here for 3 weeks.
I had that as a request. One of the requests was, could you ask all of the other events to just do their event around yours, so when I travel, I can do it all at once? And I was like, that's a great idea, bro. That's a great idea. Yeah. Let me just get right on it.
Let me just make some
phone calls and, hey, you guys, we're going to just do this all at the same time,
So yeah,
if they were smart, they would just do it with us.
Yeah, right. So as soon as we have more information, we will absolutely be updating you. And here is this podcast is the first people to know about all of the Esk8 Con
you guys
updates.
get it first, usually before social media too.
Yeah, usually so. Okay, so moving on, we want to talk about. Been getting this question a lot. So P42As versus 50S cells. Yeah. So as you guys know, we're using P42As in our boards rather than 50S cells, and there's a lot of questions about which one is better, and I would say. Neither of them are better than the other. Depends on who you ask. Depends on what metric you want to look for.
Good answer, Mike.
I would say it depends on what metric is important to you. Yes. So the 50S cells technically boast a 45 amp discharge rate, which is the same as a P42A. However, I think the community can all agree that that's not really doable. Usually I wouldn't run 50S cells at 45 amps. I wouldn't run P42As at a full 45 either. Yeah. But you can, we have, and it's been fine. The 50S cells do have a higher capacity of 5,000 milliamp hours versus 4,200. So it kind of just depends. But I think that where the P42As really do well is the temperature change. during the
Ooh,
winter
you didn't
during
think
the
about that, did
during the
you?
winter months, like as electric car owners, we know during
Yeah.
the winter months our range is affected.
I mean, I definitely noticed the winter, my range, has more effect than in the summer. In the summer,
Yeah.
it's hot.
It's hot,
but
but
I
you
mean,
go
I'm
far
getting everything I need.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting take on that.
Yeah. So,
So,
the
yeah, you cold
P42As
weather
do
riders.
much better in the cold weather than the 50.
So I would say, okay, you know what? This is kind of the first winter in the U.S. that we're seeing 50S
Yeah, so
cells.
we're gonna find
It'll be
out.
very interesting to see what some
Yep.
of these boards do over the next 6 months or so, 4 months.
Yeah, we're gonna find out.
We don't have any yet, but I think we're gonna have it as an offering.
I think we'll do 50S cells. So to be fair, we do like P42As,
Yeah.
and we're not just saying we like P42As because that's what we offer.
Right.
Because we're also saying we will also offer, I think, a flavor probably of all of our packs.
We
in a
do
50S.
see, we know that there is some need, some want for them. I mean, God, we get somebody that wants a 20S 8P. Obviously, they're looking for big power, big range,
Yeah.
right? So drop a
Yeah,
50S
can you imagine
in there,
our
that'd be easy,
can you imagine our endurance 2.0 plus with a 14.8 on 50S?
I had somebody ask me if we could do a 16.8.
A 16.8.
Yeah, they
Ooh.
want to put the motor controller on top.
I mean,
That's what I'm saying. Like,
we could, I suppose.
it just keeps getting boo, 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 boo. It
now
just
that
keeps
board's
growing.
heavy
It
though.
keeps
That board's
blowing
gonna
up.
get so heavy.
Whatever. Bro. Whatever.
So what's fun though is we're actually looking at another
Ooh.
cell. We'll see what it comes out, but they are saying that this cell. So to remind everybody, P42A and a 50S cell both claim 45 amps.
right.
Take that for what it's worth. This cell is claiming 140 amps.
Dude, I feel like right now the
Instant.
boom.
So this is not continuous. This is instantaneous
5
for
seconds.
5
5
seconds.
seconds.
But when we're riding our boards, like we're hitting them for like 5 seconds. It's not
Yeah.
like you're not pulling that much power. Like
Could you
that.
imagine though that at 5 seconds?
Yeah.
Holy
It's
crap.
insane. So I do want to know what their continuous discharge is. We're still trying to figure that out. So we're talking with them. We're going to probably get some cells to test.
Yeah, I
but
think we want to try
we'll
them out.
we'll
I think we want to
see.
try them out. We've heard of some folks running them on some boards, and it sounds like they definitely work. I mean, that's clear that they work.
Oh, they work. Yeah.
Then we kind of, you have to look at the long term. They're so
What
new.
are
We
the
have no
cycle
idea
life?
what. Yeah,
And that's another thing to consider with the P42As versus 50S. I actually don't have the data in front of
we
me.
have so much data on
It's
this.
the cycle lives of both
Right.
cells are going to be different. Whether they're different enough to affect our use case, I don't know. I don't have that number.
And let's
but
be real. If you're still looking at P45Bs, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, that's a waste of money.
I don't.
I
for
don't
some
understand
reason,
the P45Bs.
Yeah, ever since the
They're
very
like
beginning,
double the price for like a 13%.
They've never made
improvement
sense. They've never been a
in-
big enough jump.
Yeah, it doesn't
They
make
just,
sense to me.
Just stay away from them. They're not making.
That's
them.
such a marketing thing. I hate
Molicell's
that.
not making them. Nobody else is making anything.
I think
comparable.
Molicell came out
They
with
just kinda skipped
P45Bs
it.
and immediately said, nah.
It's sort of like 40Ts. We went from 18650s.
Mm-hmm.
The 40Ts came out and they got jumped so fast.
So
Like,
fast.
They just got kicked
dumped
to the
them.
curb.
I think they were like, I think honestly what happens with these is like the 40Ts was a ramp up for the 50S, right?
Yeah.
They're like, let's do a 50S, but their 50S won't be perfect yet. So we'll call them 40Ts because they won't have a good enough capacity.
Right.
As we sell those and ramp up production, we'll figure out how to make them better. Okay, now we're hitting the 5,000 milliamp hour capacity. Now we're hitting the true
a good
45
ceiling
amps.
for now.
Boom, we'll rewrap them to 50S now because they're efficient enough.
Yeah.
And then I think the same thing happened to P45Bs to their new the 5,000 milliamp hour version that they're coming out with. That'll
Right.
come out at.
See,
Who
we
knows?
just solved the battery matrix.
It's-
It's the battery matrix.
It's just like they leap themselves on purpose, knowing that this is like a middle ground cell, like
Right.
a halfway point. It's what it seems like.
And I think
I don't
people
know.
used to-
I'm not behind closed doors, right?
Right.
But this is what it feels like because every time it seems like we have a lower time stayed cell. I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say, but
Like
like
it has a
cell that
shorter
doesn't
lifespan.
a
yeah.
shorter like life cycle of a
shelf life.
or like a marketing life of a certain cell. It's like for like a year, and then
Yeah.
we move on to one that's like 3 years long,
Right.
and then we go out to one that's like a year, and then one that's better for like 3 years.
It's almost
long.
like they're like prototype samples or something.
Yeah,
Testing.
but they
Test-
do.
it's
They
like a
work
market
well.
test,
It's
probably.
like they work well. They're just not at the 100% capacity that they're hoping for
Yeah.
until they flip the switch and they figure it all out and they go, okay, push this
yeah,
out.
and who knows what's
we'll see.
next, man. But
Moving on to a much different topic is I'm calling this one Esk8 heartbreak, man.
no,
So we've got like Esk8. The Esk8 industry is very difficult. It's really hard. It's hard for us. It's hard for everyone that's in it. It seems, especially if you're in the U.S. I don't know how hard it really is for the companies overseas. They seem like they're doing pretty okay.
Yeah.
They're also probably manufacturing other things in other industries that we don't know about. But it's definitely a very difficult industry. There's a good amount of competition, especially when we're talking U.S. versus overseas. And it's hard, man. It's a really hard. Revenue is tough to get. Margins are squeezed. Labor's expensive. Everything's expensive. Import everything is just hard. So
everything's expensive.
just everything's hard. And we've had a couple companies in 2023 or 2024.
Yeah.
Start either close their doors or begin the process of closing their doors, which is kind of a shame. So we've got, I know Hoyt/Metro/Duck Battery Systems is kind of, they're on their way down.
Yeah.
So they've announced this publicly. Like, I'm not spilling the beans on anything. They put it on their Instagram. So it sounds like they'll be selling components for quite a while, but they're not really selling boards anymore.
Sounded like maybe like a 12-month plus, sort of ramp down.
They're doing their best to not leave any of their riders hanging, which is great.
Right.
They're
That's
closing
important.
in a way that is, like, nice. I don't know how else.
Yeah.
Dignity.
Yeah.
They're leaving with dignity kind of deal.
I think we have that maybe as part of a later segment of kind of what happens when
Yeah,
things like this happen. So
we're talking about that next.
a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, man, it's super unfortunate. We've worked with Jeff since the beginning of Esk8 Con.
He's been to all of them. He's been to he went to the first one. He's been to all three.
Right. He supported us every year. He's been the one that asked the questions, sometimes the hard questions, but they're always the right questions.
I'm going to credit Jeff though, because I went before Esk8 Con. When Esk8 Con was first thought about, we were talking about doing it indoors, right? At a normal trade show. We went, me and my brother ended up meeting him and I think Pete
That's right. Yeah.
for dinner somewhere. They were in town for Vegas for a different trade show. And they were like, why are you doing it inside? And I was like, just trade shows are done inside. I don't know.
Right.
He's like, do it outside so people can ride boards. I'm like, literally I'll say this. It may have ended up there anyway. Right. But he definitely was a strong voice to say, no, you got to do it outside. You got to find a track. And then once we were outside, that's kind of when the race talk started.
Right.
So I'm going to credit him for pushing that idea towards the finish line more. Whether or not it would happen without him, I don't know. But he definitely was a strong voice in that original early stages of Esk8 Con. So thanks, Jeff, for your input there, because it absolutely did affect the way that Esk8 Cons run nowadays.
Right. Yeah, that's a big chunk of the, kind of community soul that's leaving. So they provided a lot to the community over the last few years. They were one of the early, DIY companies along with you. They had, the Hoyt Puck, they had the EL1, the EL2, the Booger, some really cool shit that you looked at and you're like, man, that is just wicked cool. And I think unfortunately we all looked at it and said it's wicked cool, and just not enough of us pulled the trigger, and bought it. And that's the story.
I think part
of
the issue too was their boards were just so pretty that I think people were intimidated to fuck them up.
Certainly possible. That seemed to be the common consensus.
That's what I always felt, because they were making boards before we
before
we
were.
Metro
Boards probably I think it was or is the longest. Esk8 company, and I want to say they're 2007.
It's pretty long.
It's a long time.
Don't quote us on that date, but it's pretty long. But I always looked at their board, Hoyt's boards, they're absolutely stunning. But I was always before we were building boards and before our company was really a thing, I always oh, that's really cool. But I would be terrified to ruin it because it's just too nice looking of a board.
I should have just bought a couple. Should have just bought them.
But anyways, they've been they've done a lot in the community, so.
Yeah, if you've got one, take care of it. The good news is they didn't really use super proprietary components.
Nothing crazy, no.
A lot of your electronics, you just got to keep it alive.
The electronics,
if you need to replace it,
that's
there's
the
probably
good
a part that you can switch out.
Yeah. The good news is the most likely thing to fail will be your electronics, which a lot of them are. Some of them have, I think, storm cores in them. Some of them had, I think, forever ago. I'm sure anyone who had a Fox,
I'm sure they had Fox. Yeah, those. Hopefully, you've moved on.
Probably moved on from that. But then the most recent would be is Maker X's.
Yeah, but if you have a board, go get some components from them. Go get some extra stuff if they have your board.
The biggest things you want to get are things like the. So here, before we'll move on to that. We'll talk about what to do if the company that you're with
exactly.
does start going out of business. But Another company.
We had another one.
Another one. Apex.
Apex out of the
UK.
They were doing some.
So you have the story on this one.
Yeah. So I'm kind of the mountain boarding fan, so I do enjoy seeing the new components. When they came out with a new design on the Hero deck, that was really cool. That was something that we had kind of talked about, just never did, and of course they did it. So congrats to the team. The jump drives were killer. They had their own trucks.
Yeah.
Their battery packs. Their own
another
PCBs.
like beautifully designed stuff.
They went balls to the wall, came right out of the gate swinging, and they had a lot of popularity. I think they certainly hit the ground running. They had a few events that they did. This was maybe back in 2021. But 2021, was the year of Esk8 for pretty much all of us.
2020, 2021 were good years.
2022 just
2022 was the year that like MBoards almost didn't make it.
It was scary.
It was pretty
on
bad.
The line there for
like
a while, man.
2022, we had. I think this is not Esk8. This is a lot of businesses. They had huge growth in 2020 and 2021, and we of course expanded our workforce. We expanded our like just general liabilities and like just assets liabilities. And then when the market shrunk back in 2022, we were very cash poor for a while. Honestly, and then we also had Esk8, the first year Esk8 on top of that, which we all know was.
I don't know where we came up with that money, but we did.
We didn't. Like that was
luckily that one was, in hindsight, was cheap.
I think we made $100. I think honestly, I think if you added up all the expenses, not including our labor, like throughout of it,
we made $100.
I think we made $100 on 2022. Yeah, but it's a miracle that all happened. But 2022 was very rough. It was like you had to inject your own money into it. Like, and that's.
Yeah,
and that's it. So if you didn't have the money to inject back in to keep it going for a little while to restructure,
we've talked about that. How many times?
How many times can you do it before you say
V1
no more?
is cool, man, but the ramp up and the cost that goes into V1 is the outcome is never profit. You do not make anything off your first board, and you generally aren't going to make it on your second board. You're talking being 4 or 5 years in of consistent sales for this to be your simple source, your only source of income. So I think, from Apex's perspective, they had sort of the individual components, which were great, but those individual components made a bigger product, which was the board. So their selection was limited, right? If you had an Evolve Meepo MBoards, you probably weren't buying parts from him, which, okay, that's fine. But when you look at the mountain board, overall, and especially an electric mountain board, it's probably even a smaller community. It's tough to sustain. It's tough to keep a staff. It's tough to manufacture, design, completely, engulf yourself in what
source by
you need to
prototyping.
do. It's a lot.
Prototyping's expensive.
So we never saw, really their products have the opportunity to kind of take on the next generation. What would have been the next jump drive? What would have been the next PKP truck? What would have been the next design from, a collaboration with them and Hero? And it sucks. We're not going to see it. We're not going to see LaCroix and what crazy, what beast were they going to do next? And so Cali, same boat. Like we talk about all these companies and we say, what if? I don't know.
And I think the common denominator is that these are all higher end boards, because it's the only market that I think realistically the majority of businesses can even consider making, because the margin is so crushed on that sub $1,000 board, that sub $2,000 board. It's a really hard market to do. So what are your options? Your options are to do a beastly $3,500, $5,000 insane board, because you can make your money on your battery. It's pretty much what you're making your money on, really. Like there's good margin in batteries. That's pretty much it. Like everything else, we kind of
pose the question too, and maybe this is better a question to come from you guys, or an answer, I guess, would be, do you view anybody next? Is MBoards on your guys' list? God. You know what I mean? Like who knows? We say no.
I
say
say
fuck
no.
no.
I say no.
Yeah, we say fuck no.
There's
We're
a
gonna be
lot
here
of
for a
steps
long
we could
time.
take before MBoards.
We got a lot of shit on our plates that that keeps us in business and keeps us rolling. So, and that's even outside of Esk8.
We've got a lot of things working in the background too. Like we're really starting to push forward on manufacturing for outside industry.
Yeah, we hired a guy.
So we actually hired a
We hired a
full-time
guy.
machinist. So he's actually out there right now working. So all of our machines, like, yeah, we've got production, but production does not fill up all of our spindle time.
What's he working on today?
Who knows? These little brackets for
He's
something.
He's already just doing his own thing, which is
I just
great.
give him files. We just get jobs, and I
Yeah.
give him files, and he goes and makes it.
I
He's
can't
been
wait till he
working
works on the robot.
He's on the 5th day. He's day 5 of his employment, and he's already working by himself. So I don't know.
First day came in on a holiday. What a guy.
Yeah.
What a
he
guy.
did. He did, yeah. So
He's an
the
eager
idea,
beaver.
though, is for MBoards to use all of the things. So first, MBoards is really focused on, like, making the things ourselves when we can because it drives our pricing down. Sometimes, like building batteries ourselves has actually made our batteries cheaper than buying them assembled and shipped over from China
Right.
and all that. Like the amount of money I paid in shipping in like 2022 or something, I could have paid an entire salary with that shipping money.
Right.
So now I would rather pay an American employee to do it, and we have full control of our batteries. People respect our batteries more, so that's great. Same thing with machining is shipping over machine parts and doing the back and forth of prototyping is very expensive. We probably could get maybe a little bit better pricing when you consider the cost of the machine and cost of labor and stuff with our machine parts. However, we have full control over it. And now that we have the equipment here to do it, one, our MBoards parts justifies owning the equipment. Now that we have it, we can make parts for other industry, which
Right.
now subsidizes
Now
any
we saturate.
additional revenue that MBoards may be needing to continue to like take the next step.
Yeah.
So we're kind of in this middle gray area, right?
Business
So like,
101, folks. Never
is-
stop growing. you
yeah,
know?
this is like the middle weird gray area for MBoards right now, where like we're really starting to ramp up our manufacturing for outside of MBoards.
Right.
So hopefully this allows us, to add to our revenue a little bit, so we can start taking more of those bigger projects on that we've always wanted to do for MBoards that we just simply literally didn't have the cash for. So we'll see. It's a big deal, but okay. But let's go back to what you do if you hear your company.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause
What do you do?
What do you do?
What
Like
do you do?
you own a Hoyt what is a dad
dad
bod
Let's
or
say
a
you
Tabor
got
or
a
whatever.
dad. Let's say you have a UAV.
Okay.
You got a UAV.
Sure.
What are you going to
And
do? There's only 5 of them in the world.
Is there really only
Yeah,
5?
I think so. Something like that. I think there were originally 10.
Because they moved on to a different model quickly after that.
They kind of scrapped
That was
one
their
really
their
quick.
stepping stone to the dad bod and Tabor.
That was the one
I
I
feel
think
like.
they should have kept, but that's okay. Here nor there.
Okay.
Here
Well, either way, if you have any of let's just say I'm just picking on Hoyt for no reason, but
Yeah.
just
Or LaCroix.
or LaCroix or any of them.
Cali.
Any of if your company starts going out of business, the main things you want to immediately look at is what are the electronics?
Right.
Are there any, let's say Evolve was going to go out, right? Because they're specific with their proprietary nonsense.
Correct.
You should probably dump, if it's Evolve, you should dump your board immediately.
Probably.
Everyone else, though, where you could actually like put other parts in it. Electronics wise, you'll probably be fine, honestly, because you can put a new battery in it. You can put a new speed controller in it. Your motors are just probably off the shelf motors. You might have to modify a shaft or something, but otherwise you'll be okay. You'll figure.
I mean,
it
the
out.
parts probably, there's usually some of those components, but again, you have to really look at your specific board and know what on this can and cannot
or what
be
have I
replaced.
broken a bunch of times.
Right.
Like you should probably go and buy a handful of axles for your Hoyt trucks. I would go do that.
Or just trucks in general.
Or just buy some
snag
truck
up
component.
a whole nother
maybe buy
set.
a couple motor mounts. Maybe
Yep.
buy I would say axles,
But
motor
like
mounts.
motors, not super important.
No, I won't think
not
so.
super important.
I would say if you were going to buy a set of motors, I would dump all that into axles.
If you love that deck, get another one.
Yeah,
Get another deck
so
enclosure.
deck and enclosure is
you
a
know?
big one too.
Get
Because
another.
once
They
those are
do
gone,
break.
those are gone.
They
do.
break, and if you really like it, nobody's ever gonna make you one.
No.
Nobody's gonna give you the design. You're not gonna be able to afford it.
Yeah,
Trust
no.
me.
But to make one, no.
Yeah, no, not gonna happen.
No.
So,
So that's, those are the things like we would call it like consumable, where I guess like I wouldn't say an axle and a deck is consumable. However, in the grand scheme of long-term ownership,
yeah.
they'll need to be replaced eventually.
You know, and Hoyt Metro and Apex have made it a little easier for customers because they've given them a bit of a notice.
Right.
You know, so, and we know that they have some inventory.
Like LaCroix shut their doors in
LaCroix
one day.
really, they took a hot iron and shoved it straight up some buttholes. Like that was messed up.
That was a mess.
You know, then they pointed them to LaCroix Europe and said, well, go buy parts from them, which it sounded like kind of turned into a disaster. But I will say props to LaCroix Europe. It sounds like they took care of a lot of people.
That's cool.
They helped a lot.
I mean, because they were separate.
They were
separately owned, right?
So they pointed them over there. I think they've pretty much depleted all of that inventory.
Yeah.
Everything that LaCroix specific owned is still probably sitting
and
in
that's the
warehouse
danger
or
and
jail
scary
cell
part
somewhere.
of outside investors right there.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's where you start making weird decisions because the investors are making decisions and not people who actually know the
When you
industry.
lose control of your own company, you may as well just chalk it in, you know, we'll see you.
It's tricky. So anyways, hopefully you got some sort of value out of that crazy weird thing with people shutting down,
yeah.
but
It's
just keep an
tricky.
eye on your board and just try to get the components that you can get, stock up on them if you can. But otherwise, most boards can be retrofitted with some other system.
Right.
So, you know, if you love your board and like, let's say you have a Hoyt board and you ruin an axle and they don't exist anymore, you could replace your trucks. Like you're not
Yeah,
stuck.
you could throw
like,
different
you'll be
ones on.
fine. Okay, so should we just really quick wrap up with upcoming events? We've got a couple upcoming events.
Still spelled it wrong.
Oh, I did it. I fixed it too. I fixed it here. See, it says upcoming, the correct word, and then in here I messed it up. I fixed it once and didn't fix it twice.
Oh,
it's okay.
man.
So we got TEF November 26th, and we've got
right.
AVS November 30th through December 1st.
Yeah, so TEF is going to be held at a K1 outdoor track
Yep.
that has recently opened, which is really cool that they're
Interesting.
being very
So the
supportive.
K1's chill with it.
Yeah, it's like literally a brand new
Is it
track.
outdoor or indoor?
It's outdoor.
Okay.
I've seen some videos of like go-karts on it, and it's like very undulating, which looks really cool. Like this is going to
that's
be a
cool.
legit track for guys to get on.
Cool.
It's big, like much bigger than like a typical Esk8 con.
It's a big track, huh?
Or Electrify Expo.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Do you know how long it is?
I don't. I didn't see
Okay.
what that was yet.
But smaller than
it doesn't
AVS
seem
probably.
quite as big as AVS.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they have quite as long of a straight, but it did look like it's going to be a lot of fun. So
The width of the track's good.
I kind of want to make it, but it's a tricky
Where is it at?
weekend. It's in California. It's in Winchester, California.
Is that southern?
So, yeah, Southern
SoCal?
California. I want to say near like the Escondido area,
Okay.
San Diego area, maybe like a suburb of one of those, but it's brand new, so that looks
That's
pretty cool. They're doing Esk8 and EUC, I believe. So if you haven't already registered, by the time you see this today, they might still have some slots. There's going to be a few vendors there, so it sounds like just a sort of a one-day race party.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Sounds pretty cool.
One day event. That's
we'll
awesome.
see. This is TEF's. I think they did an event in Canada a while
Okay.
back as sort of their pilot race, and then they're looking at sort of expanding. They want to host races all over the place. Wish you the best.
Hey, good
we
luck,
wish you
man.
the best
Good
of
luck.
luck. Yeah, we
It's a
wish you
tough
the
one.
best of luck. So, Esk8 Con is here as a supporter if you need it.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. All right. I think that's probably our show. I think we were.
Oh, and AVS.
Oh,
November
sorry,
30th.
sorry,
Yeah,
AVS,
30th
yeah.
through December 1st. So it'll be actually the very next weekend.
That's Apple Valley.
Apple Valley Speedway. They call it Race and Ride. So that is, again, Esk8, EUC. I think they did some like combo races last year.
Okay.
Basically, bring what you got. Maybe they'll have something. That is a very that's kind of a smaller event. It's like a cult event. They've done it for a few years.
Yeah.
It's you hang out on like the racetrack. You
That
camp
one's a
and
party
tent.
right there.
Yeah, it
That
sounds
one's
like
a
a big
party.
party.
Yeah.
Last year they had some tricky weather. It's a tough time of year to go to Southern California. You think the desert would be, always nice, but it got pretty cold last year.
Yeah.
I think they had temperatures in like the 40s. And
Oh,
like
no,
30
it
mile an
gets
hour
chilly.
winds.
It's November,
So,
December, yeah.
But if you're local to the area, if you are on a van life trip for that weekend, come down to SoCal. There's two events, 2 weekends in a row. You can race, you can attend, you can support, get involved somehow, help set up, be a volunteer. It's not always about giving money. Sometimes it's just about giving your time.
Yeah, definitely.
That's just as valuable.
And we want to see these events succeed because the more that more events succeed, the more that all of our events will grow.
right.
So
That's
we don't
correct.
want to see any event flop at all ever, because if people get a bad taste about AVS or TEF, then they'll maybe
They're
think that-
immediately going to associate
maybe
it
they'll
with
think
every other event.
Maybe they'll think Esk8 is going to be shit too.
Oh,
so.
you know what? One you didn't add that Mike and I will actually be attending is
Micromobility.
Micromobility America. So
Yep.
that's like
PEV
it's another
in general.
PEV, yeah, but it's more on like the business side. So it's still an expo. They're still going to be showing off products. Originally, we were supposed to go as judges, which was kind of cool. We were going to judge in the skateboarding contest. We were supposed to judge like the best overall or something, give some input. And then we chatted a little bit, and there was a little bit of confusion because the coordinator was like, oh, yeah, Mike's going to be a speaker. And they gave us this big thing. I'm like, I guess
okay.
Mike's a speaker now.
I'll speak.
So I started asking some questions. What do you want to talk about?
How long do you want me to talk for?
I gave him a little bit of background in the business, and all of a sudden the guy goes, well, I mean, you weren't originally going to speak, but now that you mentioned it, you guys should just be in the event and put your board in the event. So now I got this whole cluster that's about to happen.
Oh,
so
God.
we got to decide if we're going to actually have a booth, if we're just going to show up. I think we're still just going to show up and do the judging. I think I just want to do this.
Yeah.
I want to judge the shit out of some people first. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want them to judge me out of the gates. I want to get them first so that way I can set the precedent. And I'm just going to nail them. So anyways, if you're in, again, SoCal, I think this is like mid-November, Costa Mesa.
I missed that one. My bad.
Yeah, that's a cool one. It's a little pricey to get there if you're kind of not in the industry. So totally understand if we don't see it. But if you are there, wave, shout, give us a holler. We'll be there. We'll be, maybe we'll do a podcast from there. No, I'm just kidding.
We can just handheld, just standing in the middle of the hallway. People are walking by.
Yeah, right.
It's okay. All right, guys. I think that's our show. It probably went a little longer than expected. We're trying to go for 30 to 40 minutes. I think we're probably about 50 minutes in now.
That's okay.
But that's all right.
That's okay.
Our first one back. We're just excited to see you guys again. So again, if you have any comments or suggestions for the show, leave them down in the comment section below. We're very active down there. And we will see you guys in the next one.
See you guys.
Yep.